Thank you so much for watching our talk. Today, I'll be talking about developing an experiential training system for psychotherapy skills. Mental health is a serious problem in the US. However, there are not enough resources for the general public. This map outlines the states and how much percent of their needs for mental health professionals are met. As you can see, many states have less than 20% of their mental health needs met. One might ask, why are so few professional mental health resources out there? The current training model and methods of training are expensive and inefficient. The current training is usually mostly focused on didactic components, such as lectures, readings, and homework. However, even though these methods provide the knowledge of therapy skills, most time in the training is not actually doing therapy, but learning about it. Past research in therapy training has highlighted the importance of experiential training, which refers to actually practicing the learned skills in a real or role-play situation. At the same time, the most common form of experiential training, which is clinical supervision, where an experienced therapist sits in on a therapy session and provides review and feedback after the session, is frequently the most expensive part of training. Due to the limited availability of experts and a one-on-one time commitment required of clinical supervision, they are often unscalable. With a problem facing experiential training for mental health professionals, we believe that making skill training more widely available and efficient for a variety of mental health service providers can improve the availability of mental health resources. With this vision in mind, the guiding research question for our paper is, how can technology scaffold the experiential therapy skill training process? The first concept that we implemented into our design to facilitate skill development is reflective learning. Reflective learning means the activity in which people recapture their experience, think about it, mull it over, and evaluate it. The opportunities for learning through reflection come from one's positive or negative perceptions towards their situation, namely being satisfied or disillusioned about the outcome of their experience and the subsequent observation of this experience. However, reflective learning comes with challenges. First of all, summary and recall-based activities, which are frequently employed, might not properly capture the important details and thoughts that might occur naturally during the experience being reflected on. Second, recalling thoughts and behavior post hoc is often inaccurate. And lastly, proper reflection frequently requires guidance. Therefore, to solve these issues, first of all, we implemented annotation in order to improve the accuracy of reflections. In a study done by Hayes in 2008, the author used a just-in-time capture for caretakers of children with autism and demonstrated the potential for aiding post-hoc recall. Another study done by Rasmussen in 2019 developed a tool for real-time tagging in design sessions to capture spontaneous moments. However, no system investigated the context of therapy education or using annotation in conjunction with reflective learning so far. At the same time, we also included peer-based learning in order to provide the users guidance for reflection. Past research has suggested the feedback and assessment provided by the peers can serve as a guide for the students to evaluate and reflect on the work. Peer feedback also provides a means for obtaining external perception and feedback on the learning. And lastly, in a meta-analysis done by Fauchkovi and Goldfinch, overall, the feedback given by students have highly correlated with expert feedback. In summary, in PIMME, we combine real-time annotation and peer feedback to support counselors' reflective learning. Now, let's take a closer look at how PIMME works. To start with, the user engages in a 10-minute role-play session where they will be annotating critical moments using what we call a pin. Afterwards, they will spend 10 minutes in an individual reflection session, reflecting on the critical moments that they pinned in the role-play. Lastly, they have another 10 minutes to discuss with their peers after the individual reflection to compare perspectives and getting feedback from their peer. Let's first look at the role-play components and how participants can annotate critical moments in real time. Pins are quick annotation that users can add in real time to mark moments in the conversation they'd like to later review. We encourage users to pin moments where they feel they used a motivational interviewing skill well or poorly. It also ensures that users can capture important and spontaneous moments. As you can see on the bottom left corner of the screen, the user has the button. Once the user clicks on the button during the session, it will tell them it's pinned at a specific moment, which they can review later. After this role-play session with the pinning activity, the users will move on to the individual reflection. The users will take time to review the session, focusing on the pinned moments. The users can also write reflection notes on each pinned moments on why they were pinned and what can be learned or improved upon. As you can see on the screen, the top part is a timeline of the conversation with the pins that the user made during the session marked in red. We also included the transcript on the left in order to help with this reflection process. And also on the right is where the users can take notes and note down why they pinned at each specific moment in order to discuss with their peers later. After this individual reflection, they will now be connected to their peer in a discussion for 10 minutes. They can compare each other's notes during the session and discuss what can be learned from or improved upon for each of the pinned moment. As you can see on this interface, the two users are reconnected. And as you can see on the bottom here, this time the users can see the notes made by both them and their partner in order to compare their perspectives. As we have designed PinMe combining real-time annotation and peer feedback to facilitate reflective learning, we want to understand how users feel about the design and whether these elements are providing the users with a benefit that we envisioned. With that in mind, we conducted a qualitative evaluation of PinMe. With this evaluation, we want to see how users use the system and understand qualitatively what they thought was valuable in PinMe. More specifically, what is the value of the reflective learning elements in PinMe, namely the pins and peer discussion. In this study, we recruited 15 pairs of healthcare professionals in partnership with Highmark Health. These healthcare professionals included nurses who learn about motivational interviewing and are required to use the skills in their interaction with the patients, as well as therapists and trainers that learned or specialized in the skills. We included the diverse population because we want to ensure that PinMe works not only for novices, but all levels of professionals can benefit from the reflective learning provided by PinMe. In the study, participants engaged in role play using the scenarios based on their real-life interaction with their clients or personal experiences. We collected data on all the pins made by the users, their discussions, as well as follow-up interviews that we had with each other. To analyze this data, we connected the data in the interview and tried to find the corresponding moments in the pins that the users made, as well as the discussion between the pair. The details can be found in our paper. Overall, what we found was that PinMe helped users be more aware of their skill usage. It guaranteed targeted and immediate feedback. And then lastly, the peer feedback helped users correct their misconceptions. First of all, let's talk about pinning helping users be more aware of their skill usage. They were more aware of the skills because they had to constantly be thinking what skills they were using and what to pin. As you see on the right, it is the conversation excerpt that is mentioned in the interview. In this excerpt, you can see that a counselor pointed out the pin where they used reflection. Afterwards, the pair discussed the pin and the counselor analyzed their own skill usage in depth. Peer feedback also helps users correct their misconception about their performance. In the conversation, the therapist started the conversation asking how the client was doing, but there was a little pause in the therapist's statement. In a discussion, the counselor pointed out that they thought it was something to improve upon. However, the perception of the client was very different. The client focused on the strength, the fact that the counselor kept digging when the client just responded with okay. In this example, we can see that the client's perspective helped to correct the counselor's focus and brought attention to the important strength that was overlooked. Lastly, pinning also guaranteed targeted and immediate feedback. Counselors talked about the client in pinning the moments and discussing each moment being very specific, almost like coding the session. As we can see from the example on the right, it is the client's in-depth analysis of what the counselor was doing. The client was able to point out different elements and why each element was good. Overall, the strength of PinMe include helping users be more aware of their skill usage, guaranteeing the targeted and immediate feedback, and then lastly, helping users correcting their misconceptions. However, there are also limitations. For example, mental effort of pinning while talking is hard for some people. We have noticed this especially with people with less familiarity with the skills that they learned. And also at the same time, peer feedback can sometimes be discouraging. This points out the importance of understanding the cost and benefit of real-time annotation. Annotation might be difficult for novice users. However, we believe it is an important first step to get users to be mindful of their skill usage in order to improve their skills. Thank you so much.